Hello, eCAUG, and happy Halloween. Uh, My name is Christopher Lee. I'm the resource sharing manager at the California State University system. If you came here today hoping to see the late horror film actor named Christopher Lee, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Today I'm going to give an update on some of the developments in resource sharing from the CSU and discuss our hopes on how to connect two libraries across the state within the next year. All right, so a big part of resource sharing is the actual sharing part of library resources through the mail. To increase shipping speed and save money long term, many of us use a courier instead of USPS, UPS, or FedEx to send materials within our various consortia. As far as I've been able to discover, all of us who use a courier in California use Unity Courier Services. Now, the CSU ran an RFP this past year as part of our standard procedure when a contract reaches its end. But we were also excited to see what options were out there for library couriers. There were many small details we asked for in the RFP, but the following were absolute must-haves to be awarded the contract. The courier must be able to deliver to all parts of the state. So a courier that only serves the Bay Area or the LA area, not very helpful because we have campuses at the top of the state in Humboldt and bottom in San Diego. It must be affordable. We only have so big of a budget. We need to be able to fit it in the budget along with all the other things we have to pay for year after year. It must have package tracking so that we can track if a package gets lost to try to figure out what happened to it and or make the courier replace the copy if it's lost. And most important for this presentation, they must be willing to establish a California route that any library in the state could join. So how did it go? There were more bids than I expected, especially since I had heard that the previous RFP, before I had started at the Chancellor's office, was a single bidder RFP, and there was quite a few bids. And many of them were very fantastic services. A few couriers were only able to deliver to specific areas of the state, so that kind of, well, that didn't work out. But most of them could reach all the libraries. I think all of them provided tracking. I can't remember a single one who didn't. So that was great. And some had truly impressive services that went far above and beyond what we were asking. Stuff like white glove service with refrigerated tracking trucks that seemed a lot more geared towards transporting special collections of materials than moving libraries around than standard resource sharing interlibrary loan. And most of them were more than happy to set up a California route, especially if it meant they might get more customers. But only one of them could meet all of the basics on the list and stay within budget, which was our current partner, Unity Courier Services. So the CSU awarded the RFP to Unity, and we are still in the process of negotiating the final contract, but I hear it's getting very, very close. So part of the negotiations for the contract involves the California route. During the RFP interviews, Unity verbally agreed to our basic idea of the route. In the RFP, we proposed the route have the following qualities. Any California library could join the route. Libraries pay to be put on the route, but once they're on the route, they can share with all the other libraries who are also on the route. This means if the CSU is already on the route and a Scalp library joins the route, then the CSU can automatically start shipping materials to that Scalp library and vice versa. Lastly, libraries aren't responsible for paying for another library's stop if they want to be partners. If the CSU pays for a stop at Humboldt, a Scalp library doesn't need to specifically pay for another stop at Humboldt as well. You pay for your stops and we'll pay for our stops. This also means if something like Link Plus suddenly joins the route, we can ship to them without our monthly fees increasing or the need for a new addendum to the contract. A large part of why we were so adamant about this is that the previous contract did have us pay for each stop we had with a partner, even though they were paying for the same stop already and a driver was already going to their library and making the deliveries. Now, it would have been understandable if there was a small fee to be able to deliver to that additional partner to help cover the cost of the weight, added weight to the truck and gas and all that stuff. But in many cases, we were paying more for partner stops than we were with many of our own stops inside our consortium. So that's what we asked for in the RFP. But that concluded last summer. Where do we go from here? So after the RFP was finished, the CSU started our negotiations for the new contract, which, like I said before, is near finalization. But the documentation for the California route needs to involve more than just the CSU. While I hoped we would be further along at this point when I submitted the proposal for this presentation, and that the process has started. Recently, representatives from the CSU, the UCs, Scout, and Link Plus met to discuss this route. I'm happy to say that so far, everyone seems pleased with the general plan, but there's a great deal of work to be done. Details to iron out, approvals to be sought from various leadership groups, and so on. While there's a long road ahead, I think a future unified route will benefit all of our libraries, make sharing easier and more cost-effective. And any other groups like the community colleges, if you want to be involved in this and want to start a resource sharing program with all of us, please let me know, and we would love to involve you in those conversations and get all that set up. So establishing the route and working with Unity is a huge task, but it's only part of the equation. For the Courier to be worthwhile, we need to actually be able to share our materials. And how we request and process resource sharing requests is not something Unity has any say in. They are a courier company after all, and not a library systems developer. So while we work on establishing the route, we should also work in preparing how we plan to share materials, what systems will be used, and if patrons will be able to request directly from our own websites, or if we would have to do something akin to what Link Plus does, where you tell them to go to a separate site and search that catalog. Not exactly something I particularly would want to do. It's much easier if they can just request from our own websites. This is especially complicated because we are not all using the same set of resource sharing programs. While everyone at eCAUG uses Alma, we have many partners in the state who may want to share with us through the Courier, even though they're not using Alma. Even amongst Alma libraries, we also use many different resource sharing platforms. The CSU uses Rapido, and while some of our libraries also use Iliad or WorldShare, 11 of our libraries have exclusively used Alma since last July. So they're only sharing through Rapido. You may have seen paper notices and deliveries last year, or received email resource sharing requests from an old school ALA form from some of our libraries for this very reason, because we want to still be your friends, even if we're on different systems. Other libraries in the state use Iliad, WorldShare, or Tapasa, which are all use the OCLC platform. I believe the UC system recently migrated to Tapasa last summer, for instance. There might also be libraries using more open source solutions like Reshare, because they do not have the budget for an Ex Libris or OCLC solution. I personally want to share with all of our libraries, regardless of what system they use, but how can we make this work with everyone on different systems? So a very radical course of action would be to require everyone on the California route to use the same system. This is easy on paper because these systems are built specifically to connect to other libraries on the same system. This quickly gets complicated when we ask what system should be used. As I mentioned before, the CSU recently migrated to Rapido due to rising costs of our older OCLC systems. I doubt anyone in the CSU would want to turn around and do another migration in right now. The UC system is in the same yet opposite situation, having just migrated to Tapasa even more recently than we moved to Rapido. And even if we did decide we wanted to migrate, the ink in our contracts is barely dry, and we can't exactly make a switch before our next renewal period. To be very clear, I do not want us to be forced to be on the same system. We should be able to connect regardless of system, like we do with stuff like email. It doesn't matter if I use Outlook and you use Gmail. We can still send messages to each other, and resource sharing is just sending a message saying, hey, can I borrow this book? That's how resource sharing should work. Now, even if the CSU and the UC libraries did come to some magical agreement, there are lots of other libraries in this mix, like the community colleges, and Link Plus is getting their system upgraded to Rapido next year, which is great news for the CSU, but doesn't exactly help some of the other groups. Many other libraries use WorldShare as well, and there may be some California libraries using Reshare. Basically, it's a big mess. So there's a partial solution that would work for all the libraries here at eCAUG because we all use Alma. We could set up what is called a hybrid pod, connecting libraries who are on Rapido and libraries using Alma through Alma resource sharing, which is included in Alma. You wouldn't have to pay for a new system. You would just have to configure it if you haven't already. With this connection, our patrons would be able to find materials available at the other libraries and request them through our own library websites. The requests easily translate between the systems, both made by Ex Libris after all, and there's no changes in workflows. You use your own workflows that you already had set up, unless you don't already use Alma peer-to-peer, in which case you would have to learn the Alma peer-to-peer workflows. And the CSU has used both Alma peer-to-peer resource sharing in the past, and again, we currently use Rapido. So we have a lot of experience in both of those areas. We also currently manage the US hybrid pod, connecting Rapido libraries and Alma peer-to-peer libraries across the entire country. Yeah, so we know that this system works and works well. I will gladly share resources and walk any libraries interested in this connection through all configurations and workflows over Zoom, regardless if you're connecting as a single library or as a consortia. If you're curious about the US hybrid pod and how hybrid pods in general work, we have plenty of documentation on it on the iSpy website, which hosts the US hybrid pod. And the easiest way to find that is just Google iSpy CSU, and it's the news website, not the old WordPress site. It's the one hosted by the CSU. So it'll be an EDU.
I put the link in the chat.
Oh, she put the link in the chat. Thanks, Christina. Now, to go along with a hybrid pod is a deep link connection. In Rapido, we can easily discover libraries held by Alma, items held by Alma libraries, through the Global Title Index search profile on our websites. But this is a Rapido specific feature. In a basic setup, the Alma library cannot see the Rapido library's holdings because we're on different network zones. For Alma libraries to see our holdings, we can add a connection called a deep link that will give you search access of our network zone. The CSU is able to share our holdings with as many libraries as wants this connection. But an ALMA library can only receive holdings from one other network zone. Thankfully, that's not too much of an issue since the Rapido library does not need to set up a deep link in the opposite direction. So we can share as many as we want, and you can have access. You can view everything that's in the CSU network zone. And any additional partners who maybe still could not see their specific holdings, you would still be able to request items through them if they're not filled by the CSU in the pod. Or if you fill out a blank resource sharing form, then it just goes to everyone in the pod regardless. So in short, you can easily add a search profile in Primo VE that will let your patrons search the CSU holdings and request on the hybrid pod. I've done this configuration several times. We can get it done in less than an hour. It's not that big of a configuration. And as with the rest of the hybrid pod items, the CSU is happy to connect to a single library or a whole consortia. We recently sent a proposal to Cool at the UC libraries, and we're eagerly awaiting their response. But even if the whole UC system doesn't come to an agreement right now to join the CSU in this project, we'd love to partner with any individual libraries as well. That also goes with the community colleges or any other library that wants to partner with us. Just let me know. Another way of connecting to each other is an ISO connection. This translates requests to another system through the ISO standards and lets libraries connect when they're on systems made by different companies. We currently have ISO connections to a handful of libraries across the country using Iliad. And this does indeed work, but configuration is complicated and requires IT involvement to make some higher level connections. Still, once it's connected, it works well. Libraries on Iliad can request from libraries on ALMA or Rapido, and vice versa. If only the connection were a bit easier to set up. Another elephant-sized issue with an ISO connection is OCLC has not enabled the connection for WorldShare or Deposit. Iliad can make the connection because it is developed by Atlas Systems as an add-on on top of WorldShare. And in the winter of 2024, Ex Libris announced they had gotten an ISO connection into WorldShare ILL working. I later learned that OCLC pulled out of this partnership and has so far refused to enable this feature on their side. It exists, but you can't use it, as far as I've been told. So another solution that kind of comes in, at least to help with the complicatedness of setting up ISO connections, is this thing called Crosslink. The IDS network, formerly called the IDS project, developed a resource sharing broker to handle ISO connections between libraries to make this process much, much smoother. Libraries are able to connect to the broker, and it will translate the request from one system to another much more seamlessly than trying to manage making the direct one-by-one ISO connections. Several vendors, such as Ex Libris, are involved and are actively working with the IDS network to develop this software, and it has the potential to completely fix our issue on how we can connect with each other. I recently attended the eCAUG conference. Unfortunately, I attended virtually at 4 in the morning and not in Italy. And there was a presentation on Crosslink where they discussed how 2 consortia in Australia have connected using it, even though one system's on Rapido and the other's on Reshare. Patrons could place requests in either system at their home library, and the requests would move seamlessly through Crosslink to the other libraries. More surprising than learning that it is up and running was finding out that it is freely available on GitHub, and I grabbed that link as fast as I could. If anyone here uses Reshare or any workable platform that we can connect on Crosslink and wants to test the connection, I would love to speak with you and test that out. And another option for the California route that's not the best option, but I guess could work, to connect through Crosslink is if you could add reshare as a secondary system to connect to all the other libraries if your current system cannot connect to Crosslink or do ISO. But that brings me to the big issue that concerns me with Crosslink. It's time to address the OCLC in the room. Because of OCLC's past dominance in resource sharing, they have not been participating in Crosslink as far as I have heard. At the Northwestern ILL conference in 2024, I was in the room with OCLC when Crosslink was unveiled and shown to all the attendees, and OCLC's reaction was less than encouraging. It is my perception that they are not interested in participating in any connection to other systems because they want everyone to stay on their systems and not move to another competitor. That isn't really a realistic scenario anymore. These systems are very expensive. Even if we want to stay on them, sometimes we can't. So I would love to connect to libraries on WorldShare or Tapasa. It would benefit all of our patrons, and you wouldn't have to listen to me do more presentations like this if we could easily connect or something like that. Right? But I'm not in charge of whether or not OCLC plays with us and works on stuff like Crosslink or ISO connections. If you use WorldShare or Tapasa, I encourage you to speak with your OCLC rep and ask them to change their mind and be willing to connect to libraries on other systems through ISO and Crosslink. I will also continually bring this up in discussions with OCLC when we meet with them, as I have for the last few years. Though after half our libraries left their systems, I don't claim to have much leverage with them. I do not think I'm their favorite person right now. So you may have a much louder voice as a current and probably continually future customer. They're more likely to listen to you. So if we all bug them enough, maybe they'll play with us. All right, so that's my presentation. Happy Halloween. I didn't know that presentation was a bit short, so does anyone have any questions? Yes.
How much?
How much for?
And how much to play?
To play? Nothing. Yeah. If you're on Alma and you want to do like the hybrid pod, you already have it. You have Alma peer-to-peer resource sharing built in your system. You just might not be using it. You just have to turn it on. There's no cost.
Okay.
The cost is time, and I am more than happy to meet with you on Zoom. Heck, if you're nearby, I'm more than happy to drive over and help you go through that.
All right, so my name is Terry. I'm from Taft College, which is a rural community college. It is not on a major route.
Okay.
Okay, so I have WMS. I was previously a WMS library when we migrated over to Primo. I kept my interlibrary loan because I already had it, right?
Yeah.
It was part of my deal. And so I've hung on to it. It's very pricey.
Okay.
It's very pricey for what I do. I mean, I could buy the books for what I pay for it. But it's come in handy and we do use it. So I'm interested in this and for a lot of reasons, whether it's through California, because with WMS, it's nationwide. I mean, it's anywhere I want to go.
No.
And and all I have to do is mail it out of my mailroom. It's not complicated.
Yeah. And
so I'm interested in, when I say how much, what's the cost? What does it cost to get on the courier route? What is it going to just cost me my envelope and my postage? What's the cost to get it from here to College of the Siskiyous?
All right, so for the courier route, the charge in it, it's at least how we've done it, is it's a set, like in advance, your monthly totals, regardless of how much you ship.
Okay,
And that's negotiated with Unity. As part of this California route, some of the conversation we've had so far has been discussing how we can leverage together to get a good price for everyone on the California route. But in the past, it's been you contact Unity, you have your contract that determines your price, and then you can still connect to other people on the route. We do have had some individual libraries. We found out were just our partners on the route where they were paying to be on our stops, and they had worked that out with Unity somehow, hopefully with a good price. But I don't know what everyone's individual price is. But if you, hopefully, you could talk to them and talk about how often you would have a stop and stuff like that, and that probably would determine the pricing. I know some of our libraries that are pretty far out there where they kind of have to send a specialized one driver that does tend to make it more expensive. But if you wanted to partner through the system stuff, even if you weren't on the Courier, at least us in the CSU are more than happy to connect with you through ISO, hybrid pod, any of that, through Alma, in anything that works for you. So.
okay, so let me make that into English for me.
Yes.
So what you're saying is if I could connect through Alma for resource sharing, it would not cost me anything.
Because you're already on it.
Because I'm on that system, and then it would only cost me, if Long Beach wanted a book from me, all it would cost is to mail the book to Long Beach. They would find me through that system.
Yes.
And there would be no other strings attached.
No, Rapido, when it started, and Alma resource sharing, when it started, there was no mechanism for charging each other, something like IFM, which is what kind of went with OCLC. So pretty much everyone decided to just not have fees to each other for sharing. There now is an invoicing system, but no one is using it for that yet. And I don't know anyone who has plans to. If they did, it would be a rule for the whole pod, a group that would have to decide together. If you didn't want to pay those fees, you wouldn't join that pod. So yeah, there's no cost. It's just the cost of the shipping to get the materials from point A to point B. So yeah. Yeah.
So you don't need Rapido to make this work, you can just do it completely in Alma?
Yeah.
Peer-to-peer sharing?
If you did Alma peer-to-peer sharing, resource sharing, you can connect with us and we'll do a deep link so you can see the CSU's holdings. And to make it easier to request, it would show as in Primo.
What's the advantage?
It would look like that. That's our test where you would drop down, and when you hit that drop down to look at the search profile for the CSU, you would see all our holdings.
Is there an advantage for getting Rapido and using Rapido?
Yes.
Instead?
The advantage to Rapido is that it has access to the global title index, which is all the holdings that have been pushed from all the libraries and other Rapido libraries around the world. And you can join pods all over the country, all over the world, and request from libraries. So we're in a whole bunch of different pods. We have our own closed one with the CSU. We have the Western US pod, and we're in the US wide pod. And then the CSU manages the US hybrid pod, which has Alma libraries on it. But they are either using the deep link to find new holdings, or they're just doing blind requesting out, where you can fill out a request and it'll go out and someone might fill it. So
do you have a pod or relationship with SUNY?
Yes, I work with SUNY a lot. I'm in 2 hybrid pods with a lot of SUNY libraries. Many of them are in the US hybrid pod. And we worked with them to kind of beta test the whole idea of hybrid pods with the SUNY hybrid pod that's kind of turning into it will eventually kind of turn into the East Coast hybrid pod, and then there will be the US hybrid pod, and eventually we'll have also a West Coast hybrid pod once we have enough people in the various groups so you can order them geographically. Yes.
I missed it. Does it cost money to join the pods?
No, it's
Okay.
just talking to Ex Libris, or if it's a hybrid pod, it's talking to the other people in the pod. That's what I do managing the US hybrid pod is people send me the message saying, I want to join it. And once a month, I send the list of new members to Ex Libris. They do their part. There's some configuration for the Alma library, and then they can share.
So if I wanted to move to Rapido, right,
Mhm.
this is you're talking Rapido now, right?
Yes and no, the hybrid pod doesn't need Rapido. You can be just Alma, or you can be Rapido. It's a little easier if you're on Rapido. There's no configurations.
So Rapido costs money.
Yes, Rapido costs.
So Rapido has money, so if I just wanted to go, because I mean, if I wanted to save my money, right, and I still want to be able to offering something for that is better than nothing, right? So I don't want to cut myself off, right? That's my deal. I don't want to lose my opportunity, but I want to make the best of my opportunity. So would I reach out to Alma, find somebody at Alma, answer the phone, and see if what it would cost me to join Rapido, or I could contact you and you would help me get on a pod?
Yeah, so for the hybrid pod, you would contact me. For joining Rapido, you would contact Ex Libris. I would contact Megan Weldon. She's the Rapido product manager. She's lives in California and used to work for the CSU. She was the resource sharing person at CSU Humboldt when we were testing Rapido. And while testing Rapido, she got her degree and moved and started working for
Okay.
Rapido. So we have a good relationship with them to be able to contact them easily. So if you need her contact information, I'm happy to send you her email. And for the hybrid pod, if you wanted to join a specific just CSU and you hybrid pod, just send me an email. If you wanted to join the US hybrid pod, all right, let's see if I can get this to. All right. Yes, okay. Oh, I can't type in. So if you went here, this is the,
You're not sure.
I am not sharing. Okay, I will share my screen. Am I sharing now?
Yes.
Okay, so here is the iSpy website. If you wanted to do the US pod that has libraries from all over the country, it's just on the iSpy site, you go to US hybrid pod, and you can go to terms and members. There's the terms. These are the things that are hard-coded in the system of how long a checkout period is, the cost, are there renewals, how long it expires in the system. And if you want to join, you just click here, fill out this form that basically sends me an email. So if you don't want to go through all that, you can also just send me an email and I'll just put it in too as well. And we also do fun stuff with the hybrid pod. Now we expanded our local resource sharing community of practice to be everyone in the hybrid pod, so like US-wide thing. So we have these monthly fun little meetings we call iSpy TV, where they started in the pandemic trying to be social and informational. So those are now open to everyone. We're doing fun stuff like mailing little mascots around, taking pictures and doing it as a little marketing thing. So it's kind of a fun thing as well, trying to make things a little light. But yeah, if you want to join, send me an email or join on the site, both work.
But I would need help with the configuration,
Yes.
right, and that's the peer-to-peers that you're talking about.
Yes, and I
And
am.
you said you would help me.
Yeah, I'll
You know
help
what I'm
you.
saying? Because I'm a solo librarian, I need a lot of help.
Yeah, no, I will meet with
I do not
you.
have staff.
I will meet with you on Zoom.
Okay.
And walk you through it. And we also have a lot of the stuff put on the website as well, but if you haven't used peer-to-peer before, there's more than just this.
Yeah.
So I would be more than happy to work with you, and every library is a little different. So, sometimes we get it all, follow all the directions and something doesn't quite work. I will continue to work with you until we get it working. So yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I had a question about the deep link. Have you tested that with Primo NDE yet?
I have not tested it with Primo NDE yet, since we are a consortia. We don't have NDE yet because I believe there is consortial. I'm not all up on it. Christina knows more than me.
You're right, yeah.
But there's certain
We're
features
waiting
that
for
don't
December, they
work
said,
right.
wait.
So yeah, I've not tested it. Maybe SUNY has. They pioneered the deep link. They use it to connect all of SUNY and all of CUNY together. So they are sharing each other's networks with each other. So whenever there's a hiccup and it doesn't quite work right, they're the people I talk to. Like, hey, Tim at SUNY, how did you overcome this issue? And he usually walks me through it within an hour, and then we're done.
That's a great question, though. I mean, I feel like structurally, it should still work the same.
Yeah, it should.
But, yeah.
It's all on the back end. It's just sharing the, here's the configuration to it. So it's sharing, we just put in your institution code and then the stuff for our search profile. And then you set up a search profile like you normally set up a search profile, and it's just pulling that information. So as long as search profiles work in NDE, should work. I can't imagine them disabling like the main, one of the main features of Primo. But
No, but I could see like one little
One
button wasn't
Yeah.
clicked and so
Right.
it doesn't work.
yeah, I would
So
be,
something to check.
I'd be more than happy to test and get it. And if it doesn't work, I'd also be more than happy to bug Ex Libris until it does work. So. Oh, there's chat.
Which you might want to ask there. Okay. That's all me adding and stuff. Oh.
If anyone online has questions, let me know. And if you, I guess it's not an, oh. I forgot to type out a very important thing. If you want to contact me, that's my email. cwlee@calstate.edu. So if you want to join any of these, try anything, try something else new that you've thought of, let me know. Yeah.
One question. So with the peer-to-peer, we're talking about physical items.
Yes.
Is there, is that what, even the pods, everything is all here, physical items, or does that include electronic as well?
So since we use Rapido, we have, that comes with Rapid ILL. That's the other bonus of the other incentive for Rapido is you get Rapid ILL, which has really good fill rates for articles and book chapters. It's like in the 90 percentile. So we haven't really worried about that. I have talked with colleagues in other consortia, and from what they've said, I do think you can set up the peer-to-peer to do the article stuff as well. But I personally have not tested it, so I cannot 100% confirm. I'm more than happy to test it if that would help. Always happy to test random stuff. Any more questions? Cool. All right, happy Halloween. We're done.